Mr. Hancock, what were the indicators that persuaded you and your colleagues that Leicester had to be put in these measures? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, we saw the number of cases going up in Leicester, and we put in more testing, and we found the number of cases going up again. But we also found that the proportion of people who had coronavirus was much, much higher than in the next worst hit city, and so we had to take action. We've been working on this for 2 weeks now on this outbreak. We put in the mobile testing, and we've been working with employers to make sure that people isolate and go home when they've tested positive. There's a number of factories in and around Leicester that had outbreaks where we've been working with them. But unlike in some other places like Heathleigh and Weston-super-Mare, where this very targeted action worked, it was clear that the numbers aren't coming down in Leicester, so we had to take this more across-the-board action.
What's the timeline? When will Leicester be reviewed?
Well, we'll keep it under constant review, obviously, especially if the cases keep going up. But we've said that we'll review whether we can lift the measures in a fortnight. So this is definitely in place for a fortnight. I hope we don't have to take more action, but we will if that's necessary. And we'll review it in 2 weeks' time.
How likely is it, do you imagine, that other cities, towns or boroughs might follow, Mr. Secretary of State?
Well, I hope not. And
we all hope, sir, but how likely is it, of course?
Well, that's an impossible question to answer, because all I'd say is that we just keep everything, all of these problems under review. You know, we look at the other cities which have got a higher than the national average. We've got the new Joint Biosecurity Centre, which analyses this information. And if we find small outbreaks, one particular factory, a GP surgery, etc., then we'll go and take action in that very specific cluster as well.
And what would you say to the good folk of Leicester who, understandably, were looking forward to the Independence Day of July the 4th? 10 minutes up the road is Loughborough, 30 minutes up the road is Derby. They may wish to go there and avail themselves of pubs. What would you say to them, Health Secretary?
Well, we're recommending that people don't travel unless it's absolutely necessary, and this is important that people follow the new social distancing rules that are specific in Leicester. And in the peak, people did this in the very large numbers right across the country, and we succeeded. And we know that this works. We know how to control this virus. It requires sacrifices by everybody, and we need to do that in Leicester now. And I know the next question, Nick. I can see it on your lips, which is, but you're not enforcing those travel restrictions in law, right?
Yeah, you're right. Well done.
And of course, we asked ourselves the same question. It's a totally reasonable question. We don't want to do that. Of course, we will if we have to, and I have the legal powers in the Coronavirus Act to be able to do that if we need to.
To do what precisely? To put police on the streets to stop folk leaving the city?
To impose travel restrictions, yes. But we don't want to do that because we think that people will, by large part, abide by the...
But if you have to, if to stop people dying, you wouldn't really have much of an alternative, would you?
That's right. And I think, as we've shown with the action we took last night, we're willing to take these difficult decisions, even though I know and I totally understand the impact that they have on people in Leicester.
All right. From Leicester to other matters. Where are we with travel corridors or air bridges? I note today now that Greece does not seem to want to take part. We seem to have been waiting for days for this announcement. It was suggested it might have been yesterday from your colleague Grant Shapps. When are we going to hear something, Secretary of State?
You'll hear from Grant Shapps very, very soon. It'll be
today.
It'll be this week. It'll be this week. No, today the Prime Minister's making his announcement about what we're doing to get the economy bouncing forward. That is an incredibly important announcement about investment.
Indeed, we're going to talk about that, I'm sure. But just to wrap up our conversation about your colleague Grant Shapps. So you'll give the travel... Let's say Mr. Shapps speaks tomorrow. You'll give the travel industry 2 to 3 days then to really get going so that people can start leaving the country.
Well, all of these decisions we're having to take at pace. I mean, that's one of the issues around dealing with a global pandemic.
Why make them wait so long? I don't understand. Why couldn't you have told them yesterday or even indeed Sunday?
Well, we've been doing the work. We've been ensuring that it's all ready, but we've been working at pace to sort this problem out.
But what takes so long? Either we've got travel corridors or air bridges, or we haven't.
Oh, well, you've got to work out exactly where are the safe places that we're only going to have these where it's safe to have that travel. You've got to obviously put in place all of the legal requirements to do that work,
right?
And then Grant Shapps will announce it in an orderly way.
Okay, tomorrow then.
I'm not exactly sure of the Downing Street grid, but I know it's very, very soon.
And if we look at Heathrow or Manchester Airport, how will people coming back from areas such as the United States and Brazil be segregated from folk coming back from, let's say, France and Italy?
Well, we've already put in place a much, much more stringent information gathering regime than existed before the crisis. So you now have to put in those sorts of details of where you've been in the last 14 days, and then contact details of to be able to get in contact with you when you're here in the UK. So we've put in place that information gathering already.
Final question before we come to Boris Roosevelt Johnson, who I know you want to talk about. Why did you and your colleagues pick a Saturday as regards the pubs? Every other measure has been eased as of a Monday. Are you not, and I hope I'm wrong, are you not tempting fate that a lot of people might perhaps come out and social distancing will just go for a walk on Saturday in the pubs?
Well, look, these things are always a judgment, but we're also brought in COVID-secure rules about how to safely open a pub. For instance, making sure that you take the names of people who come and contact details, so that if somebody who's tested positive has been to that pub, you can then get in contact with other people and tell them that they're at risk, and NHS test and trace can work effectively. So I hope that, look, I know that lots of people want to go to the pub. I totally understand that. My heart goes out to people in Leicester who aren't going to be able to. And in a way, that shows that we've just got to be careful across the country. Yes, we can lift these measures, but this is not over, and we've still got to battle against this virus.
Lastly, we will hear from the Prime Minister later today, the New Deal that we hope will get Britain moving. But how will you, as the Health Secretary, ensure the health of the workers, the men and women who are building the schools, building the bridges, building whatever? Yeah. How are you going to balance that important, or are we putting money ahead of health now, Health Secretary?
No, on the contrary, but we do need, as we bounce out of this, bounce forward, as the Prime Minister puts it, we do need to rebuild this country, solving some of the long-term problems that have plagued us, like underinvestment in our transport infrastructure. And I'm delighted that we're making a significant amount of progress on building hospitals and on repairs in hospitals, which is part of the announcement. Really, really important investment. And the underlying principle is that, yes, this has been a massive economic hit, but we're going to invest our way out of it.